That was from a huge cherry tree. And I got some nice pieces out of that. And this one over here is another. There's some nice wrinkles coming out. These, of course, are they're pieces from a crotch of the tree. And it's always tricky turning. You're trying to get close to the crotch, but if you get too close, then you get the pith in it, and then it's not nearly as nice, or it'll crack or whatever. So I'm monkeying around to get just the right. Well, you never know. That's what I was saying before. You never know if you're going to get something or not. So here's a piece. This limb actually came off of my tree in my backyard on this last storm a couple of days ago. So I got rid of all of it, but I cut this one little piece out to see if there's anything good in it. You can see there's a little bit of figure there. It may or may not be anything interesting, but it was easy. So yeah, these are just circles, and I'll lay it on here and try to get an idea of what I can get out of this piece. Something like that. Now, in order to get this figure out of it, I'm going to look at this piece here as the bottom of something. This will be more like, if I try to make the bowl out of it, I'm going to cut all this material away. So I'm going to try to make, more of a plate or a platter, or small platter out of this, so that this figure here, if there is any, turns out to be the bottom of what I'm working on. So I'm just looking to try to get that in here, and more or less something like that to give me an idea. So as soon as I do that, then I'm going to turn it over. This is going to sit right there in that same spot. It's not so critical in a smaller piece like this, but you can imagine if you have a larger log, that it's going to be a lot easier for me to cut this on the band. I'm going to rough this out on the bandsaw. So it's much easier to do that by being able to put the flat side of the log down. And so it seems trivial, but there's not really a good way to get a good circle out of that. So this is the easiest way that I found. Is I just take this disc that we were looking at before and just attach it on the top. Now we said that this down here is going to be the bottom, so now that I attach it on the top, that's all going to be gone anyway, so the screw hole isn't going to hurt anything. And now we're ready to just cut it out, or rough it out. Now again, this is just approximate, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then one other thing I've learned that's nice to do while I'm still here is put this on here now, make a little mark. So I can find the center more easily when I get in the other room. The fundamental difference, spindle turning is always, the grain is aligned this way along the axis of the lathe, and then anyone who does any bowl turning or any of that sort of work, it's pretty much always the other way. In other words, the grain is going to be perpendicular to that axis. Mm-hmm. So I am. So let's see. I don't want to get confused here. I want this to try to be my bottom. I'm just going to try to drive this a little bit between centers and just kind of see what we have here. I try to always make pieces that are somewhat interesting. I mean, I'm not a high production person, but a lot of times I'll just start by drilling a hole in the piece and mounting it with a screw. It looks like this. So I just drill a hole and screw it onto the screw, and I start turning from that. which is really fast and easy, but the disadvantage is you have no option to move it at all. What you get once you screw it on is what you get. So if you start off between centers like I'm doing now, and I see something isn't, because it's got this grain that I'm trying to preserve on the in the crotch, if there is any. If I start off and I see I don't have it quite balanced right, or maybe I could emphasize it, then I can adjust that axis right now. Once I put a screw in it to mount it, I'm done. I won't be able to do that anymore. I'm just going to clean a teeny bit of this bark off right around where I'm going to hit. Here's where that little dot I put in here. If I can find it. It's right there. It's going to help me. It's quite in the middle, but pretty close. I'm going to start off just assuming that I sort of want the bottom to be parallel with this face. That looks pretty good. Now, one of the nice things, this is a pretty good sized lathe, and that helps a lot. And obviously, this piece is not well balanced, but I'll be able to turn it at a high enough speed to make it not be really difficult. So, so just take a nice light cut here and try to start cleaning this up a little bit. Another thing here that's starting to show up already. I'll take a little bit more off here so we get to right now. So I have this flat, and I'm going to just true up the edge here so I can see what I have there. So this is really fresh wood. You can see how nice. It's really a pleasure to work with this kind of stuff. You're not making sawdust by any means. You're actually carving the wood off. So it's nice. It's the fun part of this sort of thing.
So what's going to happen next?
You want to do the normal process would be, I will, looking at this now, I will probably make a way to attach this to a chuck on the bottom, and then turn it around and start, turning out this part of the top. Well, I'm Craig Smith. No wood unturned. No wood unturned.